Favorite Christmas recipes to all the holiday entertainment. Stay locked in to CVM Television.
So from our CVM family to yours, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Jamaica, make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
They're Feud's biggest fans.
We love
Y'all gonna have to get some fans.
Join the club.
So I decided to do something special.
But it really matches his skin. Which is scary.
Family Feud.
I look like a tattoo on this big Italian dude's chest.
Brought to you by We Are the Caring Store, waiting to serve you. It's time to experience independent living. Visit us today.
SLB empowers my future.
We're well into the Yuletide season. In fact, Christmas Day will soon be upon us, as we said, fully into the Christmas season. And it's that time of year when we hear the traditionalists, those who've been here for a while, lament how our Christmas traditions are disappearing year after year. The culture is being degraded. But why? Or even more important than why, is this true? Is this a perception that the Christmas traditions are disappearing? And if yes, what is responsible for the mass killing off of what makes Jamaica essentially Jamaican, especially at Christmas time? I have an educator and a woman very wise in these issues to articulate just that for us, the answers to that question or those questions right here on Lead Story today on CVM TV. Let's start the show. Back with us here on Lead Story. I said back with us, well, this is the first time you're seeing for the evening, so welcome to Lead Story. We have one episode on Friday for you. That will be the last show for the calendar year. It's been a very good ride. Rocky in parts, but that's what you get with new projects. But we thank you for the support that you've given, the feedback that you've called in, you've texted in, you've seen us on the streets, and you said, well, hey, so-and-so, tell George so-and-so if you don't see me directly. And we really appreciate the feedback as we try to build out something that is even better than it has been so far in the new year. And it has been a very good ride, to speak frankly. All right, Christmas traditions. Are you one of those lamenting the good old days gone? Christmas doesn't feel the same way it did when you were a child, although I'd venture to say that if Christmas felt the same way now you're 50 as you were a child, then something is seriously wrong in your life. But the essential point is that some of the things that made the occasion special do not exist anymore. And so I'm turning to someone who would have been marking and charting the progress of these things, who can say if there's been a shift in the culture, if the Christmas traditions have been degraded, why they have been degraded, or perhaps just refute their argument offhand. Dr. Sonia Stanley-Naya, she is a senior lecturer in charge in cultural studies, and she's the head of the Center for Reparations Research at the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. Good evening.
Thank you very much for having me, George. Good
Excellent.
evening.
I've always loved your glasses.
Yes.
And many people tell you that, right?
Yes.
There you go. The first thing is, would it be strange if an adult, say 40 years old, 50 years old, can look back at when they were 6 and say, Christmas feels now the same way as it did when I was 6? Wouldn't that be problematic, you think?
I think it will be problematic. We're growing in understanding with each year, I'm imagining, and we would have different opinions about exactly how we celebrate, what's going to resonate with us. Yeah, it must be different at a certain age.
And the reason I pitch the discussion that way is because I have this perspective that when you're a child with no bills to pay, with just basic responsibilities, you play, you sleep, you eat, you play, you sleep, you eat. Different thing from when you have bills to pay, you have people who you are responsible for, you have a boss at work who's stressing you, you have a stressful job. Clearly, your frame of reference is different. And I tend to think, Dr. Naya, that some people don't take this frame of reference into consideration when they are comparing now to then, and that bleeds into how we view Christmas and the traditions of Christmas.
Absolutely. When you're 6 years old, all you have to do is wait on Christmas Day to get your gifts and open up everything under the Christmas tree. It's a different perspective completely from when you are, concerned about the JPS bill and the NWC bill and so on. And where's the money going to come from to perhaps buy gifts for what now becomes an extended sort of, network, whether it's people at work with pixies or, children in your household, parents and so on. So yes, there ought to be a sort of difference in the way in which we come to appreciate Christmas. But if you think about, just being a child, I think the lamenting happens because there is a certain kind of nostalgia associated with something like Christmas. And we really all, as adults today, want to be back in those days when we were taken care of and being given gifts.
Yes.
And so we want to be able to appreciate, what is the Yuletide season in a way that is relaxed and, of course, celebratory.
Yes.
And so I think that accounts for some of the lamenting.
Yeah.
But of course, there's a larger issue, which is that the Jamaican society has changed. What has changed? There are people nowadays who, in the hustle and bustle of trying to make life, they don't have time to be thinking about this kind of holiday. Certainly not the relaxation. Some people can't afford it. Things and times are indeed hard.
Yeah.
But also, there's a way in which there is this erosion, I think, of what is our traditional life. And I can use Junkanoo, for example.
Yes, I was going to go there. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yes, let's start with what is the real essence of the traditional Jamaican celebration. So if you go all the way back to plantation times, the masquerade tradition that manifests in Junkanoo, we see it all over the Caribbean. In fact, the Bahamas is where it is well preserved. I was transfixed by
Junkanoo in the Bahamas just recently. Yeah.
Yes. Well preserved in a place like the Bahamas. It's also in Bermuda. There's a masquerade tradition that manifests in the commercial enterprise of Carnival in Trinidad. So we have it all over the Caribbean. But this came from our West African past, our ancestors, right? And this kind of tradition in Jamaica, now I think there are probably 3 or 4 bands that we could find. And there is a way in which not everyone is going to be drawn to either learning about or being inspired by something like a Junkanoo, because it's really a ritual that you're performing on stage. It's not just a pretty patchy, pitchy patchy kind of enterprise. There is a deeper meaning. All of these characters have some kind of significance.
Yes.
So are we learning about Junkanoo in schools? No. Are we doing anything at the level of policy or, in fact, enabling environment or funding or, anything that is institutionalized in relation to Junkanoo? No. And this is where the problem lies, George. I would suggest that as a nation, as a sovereign nation, what we must do is to frame our education system to produce the kind of citizens that we want.
Yes.
And those citizens are people who are going to be very firm in their identity as Jamaicans. And therefore, this will manifest in various aspects of life that we live on a daily basis in our country. So, at the level of ritual, Junkanoo, we are certainly not doing anything to enable or to preserve this kind of tradition.
Yeah.
So that's definitely under the bridge in a sense.
Yes.
The other aspect, of course, is the food.
Yes.
Let's go to the real eating.
Yes.
And I think to a large extent we have preserved that.
Yes.
We have the sorrel and the ham and the curry goat and all of the things that the Christmas cake, black cake.
The black cake.
So that there are ways in which we try to, I don't think we can get around the food. The food is always, we want the food.
Yes.
The food is the food. So, but there are other ways. The grand market.
Yes.
Very much not a big thing anymore.
Not as big as before. Hold that point. I have to take the break. This is Lead Story on CVM TV, talking about Christmas traditions and why many people say Christmas doesn't feel like it did one time, especially when they were younger. And is it a real state, or is it imagined? People get big, have bills to pay, have a whole heap of responsibilities, so they can't enjoy the season as they did when they were like, as Marcia Griffith sang about, storybook children running across the meadow. Yeah? More on the program after these.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going to believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today no longer. Then no me face that. We never make no record or beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
Had to get some fans.
Join the fans of Family Feud.
Brought to you by We Are the Caring Store, waiting to serve you. It's time to experience independent living. Visit us today.
Welcome back to Lead Story here on CVM TV. Dr. Sonia Stalinaya, Senior Lecturer of Cultural Studies and the head of the Center for Reparation Research at the UWI Mona, is my guest. You were talking about, well, we talk about food and you talk about Grand Market and the big traditions. But as you hold the Grand Market line, because I think it can still apply here. But here's what people, Dr. Naya, say when they talk about the Christmas tradition changing and the value of it being eroded. They say, look, one time gone Christmas, the family wake up early and you whitewash the place from the days before and you rub the cake. And I used to be in charge of rubbing the cake in the big yabba in my granny. My granny and I grew up, and I look forward to rubbing the cake. And when she now look me, rub again. Mama, look, that's how she look me. Oh God, that was a part of the tradition, and it just felt like it was a different time of year. Of course, cooler, so that made you more comfortable. But it just felt that way. But they're saying increasingly, less households are putting the kind of effort into it like when I was a child. I imagine when you were a child as well. And they say we're going somewhere, leaving those things far behind. Again, real or perceived?
Real indeed, because there are still, and this has to do with the kind of families that we also have now. Some families are broken families. Some families don't have the kind of stability, whether it is go to grandma's yard or go to, or being in a household where mother is always there, not having to work and so on. The society has really changed in so many ways. I happen to be very fortunate that My mother is still baking the Christmas cake. I'm fortunate enough that she's still around and baking the Christmas cake. And my nieces and my own sons, my own children go to help my mother. So in the same way that you experience, they have this tradition with grandma to go and bake. So there is the way in which some families don't have this kind of tradition. And, you know, some of these recipes are also secrets, George.
Yes.
So some people will try the baking, not succeed at it, and just give it up.
Frustrated.
Yes. But there are those of us who have this tradition and really, you know, despite whether we believe in Santa Claus or we, you know, all of those trappings, we still try to make sure that Christmas is about family. And so I want to wish everyone, you know, get in touch with your family, make it a holiday about family, whether you believe in all of the commercial and the Santa Claus and all of that, but it is a time to take a break and be with family.
But you said something earlier that has me thinking now, because you said that, look, for instance, Junkanoo and what the symbol, the characters in the Junkanoo mean, belly woman, or belly woman mean, or pitchy patchy mean, where horse head mean, and all of those other characters. It's almost as if those who lead us think that these things will auto-regenerate. They'll maintain themselves, as if no concerted effort doesn't have to be made to keep these things alive. And there's a huge gap where those things, to keep the culture alive from that aspect, are concerned. You would agree with me?
Absolutely. And what is fascinating to me is that I had to go to university, tertiary level education, to be able to learn about things like revivalism, Rastafari, Junkanoo, and you think about all of this masquerade tradition that I've been talking to you about, tertiary level education. And there's no reason why we can't learn about this in a proper way in primary school, in secondary school. And I think it is a failing of our education system. And I say that categorically. It's a failing because it's not going to auto-generate in the way that you say. You have to be able to teach, and education is not a moment, it's a process. And it needs to be a process because there is generational change that happens. So you're going to have to be able to keep this kind of education going.
Why is it, you think, we have 2 minutes to the break, I hope you can answer in that time, why is it that the culture in some countries is able to be, is bulletproof to the influence of the American culture, but ours doesn't seem to have that tensile strength to ward off what's coming in from outside? Other countries can preserve despite having access to cable TV and all these things, but everything from there, we soak it up at the expense of what have made us Jamaicans and make people love us and respect us.
Because it's not rooted. It's not rooted, and when I say rooted, I mean institutionalized. When you are at school, you must know about it. When you are in church, wherever the socializing institutions are operating. When you walk through that door, you must see the trappings of what would be traditional Jamaica. Where do we go to see that?
Christian, I can't answer you. And that's the problem.
That's the problem
right there. We take our final break, we come back. This is Lead Story on CVM TV, talking about disappearing Christmas traditions. Dr. Naya's pastor verdict, she says, look, it's not a perception that these things have been eroded. It's real. And we have to fix. Do we want to fix? That's the other question. More after these.
JPS, we love to serve you. It's our joy to bring you the light. You are the reason we get out there every day and stay late into the night. It's been our privilege and pleasure to serve you. May this Christmas be merry and bright.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Jamaica. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Jamaica. Be safe and be joyful.
The These days, challenges are everywhere and things are constantly changing, but independent living remains the same. Rising above physical challenges, we can help you do it. For years, we have been Jamaica's trusted provider for solutions to improve patient care, safety, and general quality of life. No matter your age or your physical limitation, we are the Caring Store, waiting to serve you. It's time to experience independent living. Visit us today.
No more fear of missing out. CVM TV News is on YouTube. Get up-to-date news, sports, and business content at CVM TV News anytime, anywhere. Subscribe now to CVM TV News to see it happen.
It's a conversation that is being had or can be had in so many areas of society. Cultural degradation and those things which makes Jamaica unique, which make people the world over wish they were Jamaican, cotton on to the Jamaican culture. Here at home, we do nothing directly or deliberately to preserve these things, and we're losing fast some of those things that in their rawest form represent what to be Jamaican really is. And so, Dr. Naya, we've touched on the fact that these things are not being taught. You don't look all around you and see aspects of the culture alive and well. So that message of reinforcement does not exist, unlike in other places which almost stubbornly but steadfastly hold on to their culture and celebrate their culture. Is there the appetite among Jamaicans for the things that defined Christmas, for example, to remain, for them to be revived, for those that are here, for them to remain, those that have been lost, for them to be revived, and those that mean the most to Jamaicans, that we do all we can to ensure that they continue holding pride of place? Is there that appetite among the people?
You know, George, I'm a firm believer in the fact that anything you want to really change, you have to start from, in a sense, ground zero.
Yes.
And in our case, we have a tradition. It's being eroded. What you would need to do is go back to the foundation. Every house is built on that foundation. Mm-hmm. And we can do that in a variety of ways. Do we want to encourage, tree lighting only? Or do we want to be able to encourage tree lighting in parish capitals while we support Junkanoo bands, and make sure that there are those traditions happening in each parish? Where do we find Brookings Party, Dinky Mini, and Junkanoo as firmly Jamaican of African heritage, representations in the country apart from festival time?
Yes.
What is that?
Yes.
And I'm sure we have a lot of people who come to Jamaica who want to be able to experience those things, not just at August 1 or Independence. And so when we have conversations about even eroding the very holidays around independence and emancipation, that, the private sector says, PSOJ, that's not really what they're trying to do, but to have a long weekend. And it's a question about productivity and so on. What we need to be doing is getting the private sector organization of Jamaica to be one of the organizations investing in how it is we preserve Jamaican traditional practices, whether it is Junkanoo or to be finding the ways to support and buttress these aspects of our culture.
Yeah. The issue of how American traditions and practices, which Americans hold dear, are now percolating, or even at a more rapid pace than percolating, into Jamaican culture, while those things which made us Jamaican are disappearing. So you have more people now than ever before celebrating Thanksgiving inside their house with
Halloween.
Turkey. Halloween is bigger now than at Halloween is
even
so huge.
Juneteenth, I see people acknowledging these things. So
the obvious, I can hear somebody in the audience screaming, so George, ask her, why are these things so popular in Jamaica, but the popular Christmas traditions are no longer popular?
Well, we know because we have all of the media available to us, whether it is traditional or non-traditional, and we're imbibing all of the television programs, we're imbibing all of the social media posting and so on. I think we can't avoid that because we're not, there are those who are completely against this kind of censorship. But we have to be rooted. It's not their fault. Mm-hmm. This is not a fault of what is coming in. Mm-hmm. If you are firmly rooted, this is why we have things like morals and ethics and the kind of ways in which we're teaching young people to stand up in the world. So yes. Wherever you go, you can stand up and you're Jamaican.
Yes.
What is it that we're going to be standing on in terms of that foundation is something that we have to do at home. I think we're not doing enough at home.
Yes.
There are outliers, yes. George. There are people, myself included, those who are actually actively studying
yes.
the culture.
Yes.
But every Jamaican child needs to be able to get up on a program and speak about masquerade traditions such as Junkanoo.
Yes, yes. And so when you say at home, I know you don't mean literally in the house, but here at home in Jamaica.
At home in Jamaica.
So here's the thing then. We've spoken about the lack of educational directives in these schools for various aspects of cultural preservation. So are you saying that this thing should be led at the local level by mayors, local businessmen, investing in the preservation of things like Junkanoo and related cultural expressions at Christmas time? Or must it come from the Ministry of Culture on high to issue edicts for the rest of them to follow down at the bottom level for this preservation to happen?
I think there's need for a holistic approach, and so you can do this at several levels, both at the village community level and of course at the policy level, the legislators, the ministers and so on. And what a better country we would have if there was this kind of coordinated approach where those at the parish level, because I was one of those children that danced in festival, when I was a youngster.
Yeah.
I was probably 7 or 8
yes.
in primary school.
Yes.
And if you have that at the policy level, at the ministry level being supported, I think I don't hear enough of the ways in which we are trying to preserve certain aspects of our culture. And let's not forget, part of the challenge is also that we haven't accepted, we have not truly valued those aspects of ourselves that we categorize as African. That's part of the challenge.
That's part of the challenge.
Part of the challenge. And that's education.
Yeah. You have your work cut out, not just you, all of us, because this is something that we have to rescue. I want the Jamaican traditions and practices to remain because they're what made us Jamaicans. Nobody wants us to be a hybrid Jamaican American, Jamaican Canadian. They want the authentic raw Jamaican, and if you want to add on other layers after that, then fine. But I'm all for the preservation of this culture because, man, I don't know about you, Dr. Nair, I wouldn't want to be any other nationality.
Well, this is the point, and every Jamaican would say the same.
There you go.
So we need to make an effort.
We need to make an effort. I'll close by saying that she can't be more correct and precise when she speaks to one of the major failings. If it is that we're not looking in the schools, looking around us and seeing concerted efforts made by policymakers, those with decision-making power, to have the culture resound, to have the culture become part of our everyday life, concerted efforts to preserve the culture and to transmit pride in cultural recognition and cultural celebration, then we're on the road to nowhere, and by the time we get to the end of nowhere, we would have left all of the things that made us Jamaican behind. This is about a fight, not a pitched battle, but a battle nonetheless, to preserve Jamaicanness, what makes us unique Jamaican, what makes us the life of every party we attend anywhere in the world. The Jamaican stands out. The Jamaican has a natural flair because the Jamaican has a set of inputs into their makeup that is unique in the world. We are chameleon-like if we want. We can be like anybody else. Nobody can be like us. Christmas traditions are a part of that, and we have to see that thing as such. And so it needs the Ministry of Culture to do a lot more, especially where education is concerned. It needs businesses to fund the activities at the community level that strengthen community participation and strengthen knowledge and appreciation of culture. And it needs us as Jamaicans to recognize that what we have is more valuable than that which exists anywhere else. And we're not saying that we shouldn't take on the best of what exists.
From now on.
Let's go right into our first headline.
They say it, but you got up in that bag with the lights out. 'Tis the season. Going to a break.
Get Sagicor School Companion Health Plan for as little as $2,540 per month. The time by Sagicor Life is
7 o'clock. CVM News at 7 headlines Tuesday, courtesy of Heart NSTA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, 4 journalists killed by gangs in Haiti. Kingston wharves operating despite supply chain snag. Port Morant councillor demands apology for roadwork claims. And in the business report, strengthening tourism linkages in 2025. While in sports, Digicel acquires Caribbean Premier League.
CVM News at 7 headlines Tuesday, courtesy of Heart NSTA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
No more fear of missing out. CVM TV News is on YouTube. Get up-to-date news, sports, and business content at CVM TV News anytime, anywhere. Subscribe now to CVM TV News to see it happen.
CVM News at 7 Tuesday, brought to you by KFC.
Punch the holidays however you want. KFC is finger-licking good.
From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. I'm Nika Lewis. It's Tuesday, December 24, 2024. Thank you so much for spending Christmas Eve with us. The region is in mourning and condemning the tragedy that befell several journalists and law enforcement personnel in Haiti sometime Tuesday afternoon. International media reports are that 4 journalists and a police officer were killed after armed gangs opened fire on them inside an old military hospital in Haiti's capital. The attack also left at least 6 other people, several of them journalists and 1 police officer, with gunshot wounds. The injured were being treated at La Paix Hospital after a specialized unit of the Haiti National Police went inside the facility that is part of the hospital of the State University of Haiti, better known as the General Hospital, to rescue the wounded. Police officers told a Miami Herald freelancer and other waiting journalists that they had left 4 bodies on the ground. At least 2 of them were identified as online journalists. The tragedy unfolded while the press was awaiting the arrival of the health minister to cover the reopening of the General Hospital, which had been closed for months because of gang attacks. Back home now, the Independent Commission of Investigations, Indicom, is investigating the circumstances of a triple police fatal shooting incident which resulted in the death of 3 men. The incident occurred today in Orange, St. James. Year to date, 183 persons have been shot and killed by the security forces, of which 15 were reportedly fatally shot in December. Preliminarily, the police have reported that the area fugitive apprehension team attended a premises with a warrant in search of a named person. It is alleged that 3 men fired at the police upon the approach of the officers into the building. The officers fired in response. The 3 men were later pronounced dead and 3 firearms were reported as recovered from the deceased men. 1 man was identified as the subject of the warrant while the other men remain unidentified. No body-worn cameras were reported as issued or worn during the planned operation. Meanwhile, the Indicom team is currently conducting investigative inquiries. Persons with information about the identity of the deceased men or general information into the circumstances resulting in their death are being asked to contact Indicom. Independent witness information is vital, Indicom says, in the investigative process, and this information should be shared via Indicom's WhatsApp number at 876-553-0000. Supply chain changes have resulted in delays in the usual collection of Christmas cargo, but the Kingston wharves stand a strong vessel as extended operation hours continue. Courtney Lewis has more.
Jamaica's ports are feeling the pressure of the rush this holiday season as shifts in the supply chain cause a backlog of cargo. Although the peak season is not new, the changes may come as a surprise for some wharf operators.
The things that happen before the goods get to Jamaica or to Kingston wharves are what has been different. So you'd have heard about the geopolitical activities that are causing ships to take a longer route to get to the west, as well as we have supply chain changes that let containers and shipments back up at ports. So when they get to Jamaica, sometimes you're getting 2 shipments on one vessel, 2 shiploads on one vessel.
But the Kingston wharves is promising a quick turnaround for customers with pre-clearance, extended hours, and door-to-door service along with the Jamaica Customs Agency.
We continue our peak season operation straight through to January. So what we're saying is if you have an LCL shipment, once we have what we call in the business lodge, once that container is submitted to Kingston wharves and the paperwork and the data and everything that is involved in it is done by the freight forwarder and the customers, we will be able to empty those containers within 2 to 3 days.
And as for online shoppers this holiday, global strike action shouldn't be an issue.
A lot of the Amazon packages are going through air freight. And as I mentioned, this is ocean freight. Kingston wharves is a port, and we deal with ocean freight. But for those persons who use ocean freight for their Amazon packages, there is some impact, but I would not think it would be significant at this time. We have been doing our regular rhythm. Once we get those containers, within 48 to 72 hours, we try to make the packages, which are mostly barrels. Of course, for the commercial trade, we prioritize commercial shipments to ensure that the commercial trade gets their goods within 48 hours. But certainly for personal packages, those that come by ocean freight, once the shipment is here and the documentation is lodged with Kingston Wharf, we try to get those shipments to the owners within 72 hours.
Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
It's Christmas time again, and downtown is a popular shopping district in Kingston. But has it all been cheerful for those doing business there? Adrian Williams shares more about spirit in the heart of downtown Kingston.
We're here in the hustling, bustling streets of downtown Kingston, trying to find out from persons how is the Christmas treating them. For some, they may have a lot of cheer. For others, maybe not. Let's find out. All right, so we're here now with Nadine. I want to find out from Nadine how the Christmas is treating her. Nadine.
Yeah, the money now run. Not now go on. The people just walk up and down like them bewildered. Catch them down the money for buy nothing.
Christmas, well, from me of life, there is hope. It's just 1-2 because the price is up this year.
Well, the time's still early, same way. The time's still early, so we are expect for the best and not the worst. But God is good all the time.
Very expensive.
It's an expensive Christmas.
Very. No, nah, sell no pillar them there. Me nah sell no pillar.
So you sell pillars. So this year, last year, this time they better?
Last year they did a little bit better. I come out from man in a 2 pair of pillar myself.
It's not so bad still, you know. It's not so bad, but as I say, traffic them could have better. Traffic, bus systems could have better.
For others, making the best of the moment was the order of the day.
I'm not tell all the Christmas are going with a bag of things for me. I'm not tell a lie still. Things are going for me right now. I make a whole heap of money and my things sort out. So, I say a better Christmas that year. You see me? Yeah, my boss. So, big up on yourself.
Lord, give it on last year, yeah?
Good, nice, clean, good Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody, when you come, and a Happy New Year.
All I ask, a peaceful Christmas to all the events and all the people across Jamaica, to have yourself a Merry Christmas and a safe Christmas and a New Year when it comes to one and all. A Merry Christmas to the world!
Adrian Williams reporting for CVM News.
As final Christmas shopping dominates Christmas Eve, concerns about road safety emerge. The National Road Safety Unit has issued urgent warnings for road users, not just for tonight, but heading into the new year. As Shante McNeil reports, 3 road fatalities have already been recorded since the start of the week.
As families embrace the holiday cheer, others mourn after 2 fatal crashes on Monday claimed 3 lives in St. Elizabeth and Hanover. In St. Elizabeth, a woman identified as Kimberly Simpson was hit by a bus along the Goshen Main Road after reportedly walking into its path. Meanwhile, in Hanover, a motorcyclist and a pillion rider were killed after being thrown from a motorcycle which collided with a motor car on the Green Island Main Road. Vice Chairman of the National Road Safety Council, Dr. Lucien Jones, expressed hope for safer days ahead while urging road users, especially pedestrians, to be more cautious when using the roadways.
But it's been very difficult to deal with pedestrians. They rush out into the road. Pedestrians, you have to be very careful how you use the road. Look right, look left, look right again.
Yes.
And maybe look a third or fourth time.
Yes.
You have to be aware when you walk on this side of the road, you face oncoming traffic. You can't have traffic coming behind you. People be driving and for whatever reason lose control.
His warning comes ahead of Grand Market activities which kick off in different towns across the island on Christmas Eve. Dr. Jones revealed that over 65 pedestrians have died this year, making them one of the most vulnerable road user groups. As the night unfolds, he's reminding taxi operators of their critical role in ensuring passengers get home safely.
You have precious lives on board. Be very careful. Watch out for the pedestrians. Many pedestrians are being very careless. They are wearing dark color clothes at night. Nobody can see them.
Yes.
And therefore the taxi men who are in abundance in Jamaica, they rule this place. You have to be very careful about taking people to and back home tonight.
For parents too, he reiterated the importance of parental supervision.
And for God's sake, it's nice to see a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old walking on the road. It looks cute, but it's madness. An adult or an older person needs to be there with these children. We're talking about going to school. But tonight in particular, everybody's in high spirits. Everybody going to Blendon Market to go shop. Just be careful going and be careful coming back home. Wear, I know it's the red kind of darkish too. The black is worse, but wear something light tonight so that people can see you.
The NRSC is encouraging drivers to obey the road laws, avoid drinking and driving, and remaining vigilant. Despite the season's tragedies, a 14% decline in road fatalities has been recorded when compared to the same period last year, with 359 deaths reported. Shante McNeil, CVM News.
There's more to come on CVM News at 7 right after this break.
KFC is finger-licking good.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going to believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me I go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. We never make no record or beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust.
They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
This holiday season, remember what truly matters. Spreading joy to everyone. Focus on what's truly important. Spending time with the people you care about. Count your blessings and be truly grateful. And never forget, the true spirit of the season is in your heart. Make it a true Christmas. Happy holidays from Tradewinds Citrus Limited. Keep it true, always.
We welcome you back with a bit of breaking news coming from the Jamaica Constabulary Force in relation to the investigation into the murder of veteran journalist Barbara Gale. We hear now from SSP Christopher Phillips, head of Area 5.
And meticulous investigation, our team has made a breakthrough, and Travis Philip Ellis, 24 years old, of an informal community known as Gulf in Gregory Park, Portmore, St. Catherine, has been charged for murder and robbery aggravation. The investigation was led by a dedicated team of detectives who worked tirelessly to gather evidence, interview witnesses, and follow up on leads. Their hard work and commitment to justice have paid off, and we are one step closer to ensuring that justice is served. I want to reassure the public that we take all crimes seriously, and we are committed to keeping our communities safe. The arrest and charge of Travis Ellis demonstrates our resolve to pursue justice and hold perpetrators accountable for their actions. As we move forward, I want to appeal to the public to continue to support our efforts to prevent and investigate crimes. One way to do this is by participating in our Neighborhood Watch program. The Neighborhood Watch program is a vital tool in preventing crimes and keeping our communities safe. By working together, we can build stronger, more resilient communities where everyone feels safe and secure. I urge all residents to get involved in the Neighborhood Watch program. Your participation can make a significant difference in preventing crimes and keeping our communities safe. So if you are interested in joining the Neighborhood Watch program or would like more information, please contact your local police or your community safety and security officer. I really want to thank the public for their continued support, and in particular in this investigation, and the kind of cooperation that we got. Commendations too to the entire team in the St. Catherine South Division and all the other supporting teams. I believe together we can build safer, more secure communities for everyone. Thank you.
While many scientific centers are far away from civilization, the Portland Bight Discovery Center is open for tours and educational sessions. There, residents in nearby communities and even students can schedule visits to the center situated in nature itself. Trisha Gay Kelly has this story.
Take care of the environment, and the environment will take care of you. That's something most people have heard before, and rightfully so, since humans are just as much a part of the ecosystem as animals and wildlife are. However, there are instances where the environment is exploited and left vulnerable. Environmental advocates have called for more educational campaigns to be developed to educate citizens on the importance of preserving the environment. The Caribbean Coastal Area Management Foundation, CCAMF, through the Portland Bight Discovery Center in Clarendon, continues to protect the mangroves around the center and assist citizens with doing same. CCAMF Senior Scientific Officer Donovan Hay says the agency has to look out for the surroundings.
The Portland Bight Protected Area is Jamaica's largest protected area,
It's the only one that's both terrestrial and marine. Within that area, of course, there are some 40 or more different communities. Much more than 50,000 people live within the area. It is a multi-use area with factories and farms, but there's also significant wilderness areas where there are very important biodiversity resources that are vital to our country.
This protected area, however, includes various communities that depend on the very ecosystem around them. Manager at the center, Troy Franklin, says it's for this reason that the agency develops educational initiatives for the residents around.
We tend to involve all the community people in terms of why it's important, not just to the environment, but to them, because it keeps the storm from destroying their land and also keeps all of the landslides and garbage from going out to sea, which affects the corals, which affects the fish, because most people that live in this area are floating somewhere around the poverty line. So a lot of them live off either fishing or something to do with the forest. So them maintaining the forest is literally important to their very livelihoods.
The agency also facilitates visits from citizens outside the parish and sometimes even tourists. Franklin says the center caters to all individuals, whether they are seeking an educational tour or just seeking some quiet time.
Between September to December, that's when I get the vast majority of tours, because most high schools are coming here that period because they're all looking for stuff to do their SBAs on. So they don't just come here. So tours aren't just like one size fits all. So for schools, if they're looking to do their SBAs, I design it where they can come and collect field data, which they can use for their SBAs. If they just want a simple nature walk, I design it around that. If they're coming here just to enjoy themselves and get away from everywhere, this is a good place for that.
But besides that, the entity collaborates with residents via visitation to get citizens more engaged with their surroundings. Trisha Gay Kelly, CVM News.
Stay with us. There's much more to come after this break.
The holidays, however you want. KFC is finger-licking good.
It's been 3 years.
Come on, D. I have it. Let's go. Oh, my baby. Son, oh, my baby. Oh my goodness. Them feeding you over there though? Your favorite. Welcome home, son.
This is home.
As we transition from iCreate Limited to Kintyre Holdings, we are embracing a future full of possibilities, where innovation meets growth and opportunities are endless. Kintyre Holdings emerges as a diversified powerhouse, driving growth across key sectors such as real estate, fintech, technology, advertising, and tourism. Kintyre Holdings isn't just rebranding. We are building a future of innovation, impact, and growth for Jamaica, the Caribbean, and beyond. Kintyre Holdings. See, believe, achieve. Visit our website, kintyre.holdings, for more information.
Thanks for staying with us. Here's what's happening on the social media landscape. So, what's trending in our local social media spaces? For the second time in 3 weeks, authorities in Manchester have mistaken a dog's remains for human remains. This incident mirrors a similar one on December 3, where police found a large dog's body wrapped in a carpet at Spice Grove, contrary to initial reports of human remains. Here are some of your comments. At Naomi.Irving129 writes, the persons who are doing this are sending a message. I think it's a puzzle to solve. At Will Warren Wilson comments, officers, stay alert. This may very well be a distraction. At Rose Allen Harris posts, them sure someone body not close, maybe buried in a shallow grave and the dogs used to disguise the scent. At Cara_25 shares, when since we as a people start rap dog in a sheet, them a try create the boy who cry wolf situation. At D_continue asks, cover up of something bigger that is or about to happen? And that's what's trending online today. Continue to share your thoughts with us on X at CVM TV and CVM_television on Instagram. I'm Courtney Lewis. Now to regional and international news.
We begin with news in the region. In Trinidad, the search continues for missing oil rig worker Pete Phillip. Mr. Phillip was one of 75 employees of Well Services Petroleum Company Limited aboard Rig 110 when it partially collapsed into the sea early Sunday morning. More from TTT News.
Heritage Petroleum Company Limited, in a media release, says it will continue sparing no effort with respect to the offshore incident at Rig 110. Heritage is providing support with 9 vessels, which were involved in the initial rescue of personnel on board the rig. The company also remains involved in the movement of materials, equipment and personnel, the conduct of surveys, the provision of security, oil spill monitoring and emergency response. Contractors for Heritage are also conducting topside drone surveillance and subsea surveillance by way of divers and remote operated vehicles. Heritage has also set up an incident management team and is in constant contact with officials of the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries.
Barbadians with allergies and respiratory conditions are being urged to take all necessary precautions to protect themselves. The advice from medical practitioner Dr. Adrian Lord, as the island continues to be impacted by a plume of Sahara dust. CBC News Barbados has that advisory.
That could cause some problems for persons with allergic rhinitis, or what you call sinuses, or asthmatics. You need to make sure you have your medication and to take your inhalers, the preventive inhalers, as necessary. And if you need to, then take the medication, the antihistamines or whatever that's necessary to correct the problem. There's also the Christmas tree syndrome and all the dusting that you're doing. All those can cause a flare-up of those conditions. So be careful. Wear your mask. The mask protects from COVID, but also protect from dust. I recommend if you're doing things at home, put on a mask. There's no harm. Protect yourself.
And in international news, first it was Canada and Mexico, then the European Union, and now US President-elect Donald Trump has Panama in his sights. He suggested the US could take back control of the Panama Canal, but the Central American country is pushing back. We turn to Al Jazeera.
The Panama Canal, the artificial waterway connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, was once controlled by the United States. That changed 25 years ago, but now Donald Trump says the United States could take it back.
Our Navy and Commerce have been treated in a very unfair and injudicious way. The fees being charged by Panama are ridiculous, highly unfair, especially knowing the extraordinary generosity that has been bestowed to Panama, I say very foolishly, by the United States. This complete rip-off of our country will immediately stop. It's going to stop.
His comments angered Panama's president, who was quick to reply.
Every square meter of the Panama Canal and its surroundings belong to Panama and will continue to belong to Panama. The sovereignty and independence of our country are non-negotiable.
The canal was built in the early 1900s, and the U.S. controlled it until 1977, when Jimmy Carter signed a series of treaties that gave control to Panama. Those treaties allow the U.S. to intervene militarily if the canal's neutrality is threatened, but don't give Washington any right to take it back. Up to 14,000 ships cross the canal per year. It's the second most important waterway in the world after the Suez Canal.
And that's it for regional and international news.
We return after this break with the business report.
Christmas is a time of peace and love. Let us embrace each other with care, charity, and a cheerful spirit. On behalf of the team at the Ministry of Justice, I wish you a safe, happy, and a blessed Christmas.
Crunch the holidays, however you want. KFC is finger-licking good. The time by KFC is...
Welcome back. Now to the business report with Joel Crosskill.
Lots to share with you in the business report today. Emerging from the launch of the report on effective public-private community partnerships, PPCPs in tourism, the PPCP framework identifies 16 drivers of success along 6 dimensions as a frame of reference for development organizations, donors, communities, and governments. Lead author Annie Bertrand detailed the apparent disconnect between growth in tourism and development in small island developing states or SIDS like Jamaica.
Think about it. 70 to 90% of MSMEs do not use digital payment to process transactions as we speak. If you do live in a SID, you'll know that some international processors like PayPal or Stripe or even international platforms like Airbnbs are not readily integrated across all bank accounts or across all credit union accounts. So they're not necessarily accessible to most individuals. So the question is, how on earth can MSMEs join the tourism value chain when we know that visitors prefer to pay using credit cards or paying online?
The rising market demand for authentic experiences and conscientious travel worldwide has created new opportunities for SIDS, with a number of PPCPs emerging over the past decade to build local linkages across the tourism value chain. It's an ambition that Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett says will be of enhanced focus during 2025. For an example of its potential when done well, look no further than Treasure Beach in St. Elizabeth, which was used as a case study of the success of the PPCP framework in the report.
So a public-private community partnership was established involving a cluster initiative that was actually funded by Compete Caribbean at the time. And the focus was really to develop authentic experiences, new products using local MSMEs that would be more aligned with the willingness to pay of visitors to increase the value generated, but without losing the authenticity of the community. What's also interesting is that the cluster initiative formalized officially into a destination management organizations at the grassroots level. And if you look in the report, the case study on this community, you will find that they're still highly active today, still focusing on addressing some issues that would benefit the entire community. So I really encourage you to go read this story because it's really a tremendous success. So 100%, 150 increase in employment, revenues, and also the community managed to attract large investment from the government, including highways.
The approach is intended to be reproducible through the use of a toolkit for effective community engagement.
Caribbean Tourism Organization train and Compete Caribbean train tourism officers from across the region on the use of this toolkit to mobilize communities and better conduct diagnostic, because these tools are effective to not only to identify priority areas, but to reach consensus. Because when we work with communities, you all know that you have, with the private sector, with the government sectors, there are sometimes diversions in interest or in the way forward. And collecting the data, then what's most powerful to convince stakeholders and agree, reaching consensus on priorities.
It's a process which has been utilized by Larissa McBean, a tourism management professional and researcher specializing in community tourism